That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to kick back, relax, and have a cup with Joe. All right, welcome to A Cup with Joe. It has been a little while. It is good to be with you. I am your host, Joe Muzidla. Oh my goodness, so much going on. Still getting over a little bit of the creepy crud. I know I did a couple of episodes there with Matthew Miller and Ben Lawrence, and yeah, I didn't sound very good, but getting better. Getting better last night. Of course, this being recorded on the 29th, the day after Thanksgiving. Last night I got a text from Matthew, and I was really wanting to get on there on the Iron Show with Matthew Miller and Brian Ingram and Ben Lawrence and Johnny McMahon. And and just talk about what we were thankful for, and I guess a little Thanksgiving episode is what it was, and my body had other plans. Unfortunately, I won't go into details, but just was, well, I would have been no good. Pretty much incapacitated, so I was pretty bummed about that. I was I was trying so hard to get on, but anyways, well, it's just how it worked out. So I did want to get on and do a little update episode. I'm not really sure how long this is going to be. I just kind of wanted to talk about some things that I guess maybe behind the scenes or privately have been going on with me and my family and such, and just talk about some upcoming things too that I'm also excited about. But nonetheless, like I said, starting to feel better. Had virus or whatever it was that went straight into bronchitis, and that was a blast. And so, doing better, and thanks to Ben Lawrence, and he gave me some in private some different remedies and different things to try, and so I wanted to give a shout out and a thank you to him for that. So, anyways, oh goodness, lot going on. Did have a death in the family recently. I know I talked about this in past episodes of my mother-in-law contracted a pulmonary disease that, well, there was no cure for. Once you contract this specific disease, there is the possibility, depending on the patient, they can do a lung transplant, but I guess that's pretty rare, and as far as I understand, it's pretty extreme. And in her particular case, just because of other issues and other things, that wasn't even feasible. So, anyways, I'm trying to think of the name. It's really long. My wife can just rattle it off like nobody's business, but darn it, I apologize. I'm having a hard time thinking of the actual disease, but it's basically a crystallization of the lung tissue that expands, it grows, it just basically takes over till, well, the ultimate is that there's no cure for it. well, you will expire. How's that? And so it's one of those things, I had talked about it on another episode, that it made me think about the children of Israel when they were taken out of the land, out of Egypt, and then brought into the land that was prepared for them, in this place, this strange time where there was their sandals and their clothes didn't wear out. Manna was provided for them. But before all that, there was a solemn assembly for those that did not put the blood on the mantle and basically did not do what the Lord God commanded them to do. And when the angel of death flew over, anyways, so there was this assembly that was solemn because they realized of how many did not make it, family members and such. And yet it's, to me, and when I read this, it's always bittersweet. One, that you have made it, one that God's promises are true, but at the same time, there was those that chose not to receive those promises. So, and that was pretty much, I think I talked a little more detail on that episode, and I don't remember which one that was, somewhere in the single digits there, that I did discuss that. But anyways, I knew that, dealing with the doctors, and in the last conversation that we had with basically multiple doctors that came into, I think it was one of her last hospital visits, and gave us the lowdown of where she was at and what we should expect, and basically kind of preparing ourselves for what was to come, mentally and to the best of your ability. I don't think anyone's really prepared for that, but to the best of your ability, it's coming. It's not a big surprise, but you still don't know the day nor the hour, nor can that be predicted. And that brought about a whole chain of different thoughts, which I might get into on this episode. But anyways, I knew from that, and as well as just we'll say a nod from the Lord, that she would not make it to Thanksgiving. And anyways, so that was helpful in preparing. It wasn't a major shock, but still hard to say goodbye. It's still, a difficult thing when you're, I think it's all the things that you get used to, and that person being a major part of your life, especially a parent. That's difficult. That's a hard thing to swallow. But it's still bittersweet because of the disease itself. To watch somebody that you love and care about suffer is not a fun thing either. And, on that day, it was sorrowful, but yet a relief, almost a release of that tension that you're waiting for that day. And when it finally does arrive, it's somewhat overwhelming. It hits you that it's the finality of it, and that from this day forward, they're no longer physically present or inhabiting physical flesh anymore. But yet at the same time, you wouldn't wish that individual to be in the state that they were in, that they were, struggling for life itself, that just to live had become quite burdensome. And so you don't really wish for that to continue for them, but at the same time, you don't want to say goodbye either. You still enjoy them even on that level. They're still And I must say this about my wonderful and beautiful mother-in-law, that she was gracious till that day. It was amazing to watch that she still had a smile. She would still go out of her way to comfort those that came to visit, and her family, to even though she didn't feel like it, even though she didn't feel good, that she would still go out of her way to try and, well, not try, but she would give a little smile and maybe make a little joke and try and comfort everyone, even though she was getting closer to death. Amazing. It was amazing to watch. It was also so many prayers answered. One of the things that the doctors talked about was that when the lungs are not working at capacity, well, other organs have to try and make up for that, one of those being the heart. And basically, things were discussed of which was going to give out first. Was it the lungs or was it the heart? Because both were working so hard, and one was diminishing as the other one was trying to make up for the difference. And it can only do so much, to the point where it was overstressed and overworked, the heart. And which one? And so... it's coming. There's nothing, the doctors have told you we're at the point where we can only make this individual comfort. We can try and comfort them to the best of our ability with medications and such, and just try and make their final days as peaceful as possible. But there's no getting around it. They're going to expire. So with that, your prayers change to not keeping them alive, but, Father, letting them pass peacefully, without any discomfort, without any pain. Father, if it be in your will to just let them pass into your hands peacefully. And that prayer was answered, and it was very, very peaceful. Basically, she just went to sleep and got to go home. So, and it was a lot of prayers answered, a lot of blessings, a lot of different things that come out of these events that you don't quite expect, that change can change the entire landscape of how you view things, or even others. Maybe you forgive a little bit more, or you look at things just a little bit differently. You're reminded of the time that you're given and how precious it is, and those around you and how precious they are. And it's also a good reminder that it gets you out of the daily grind that we can get into, and take a look around and maybe give a few more hugs, a few more smiles, and bring you closer to one another, and let alone closer to Him, that these prayers were answered, and that He and He alone is good. No matter how we feel about losing a loved one, but He is good. And that the reminder that He desires her as well, to be with her and to be in her presence, and her to be in His presence. And it's actually, it's not so sorrowful as it's to me, it's more of a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I was honored to know her for 17 years of spending with her and the family, and her welcoming me as a son-in-law, and what a blessing. And I wouldn't change a minute of it, wouldn't change a second. It was